Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. It's Beterbiev versus Yarde. These are my initial thoughts. Some of these thoughts you would have heard before, with some new thoughts added for this big fight coming up nearing the end of the month. Don't go anywhere. You're watching BWTM Sports. Yep, that's the fight we're going to be talking about. Yarde versus Beterbiev. Or Beterbiev versus Yarde. That's the fight we're going to be talking about now on BWTM Sports Gaming. So, I don't know how I'm going to start this, really, because, I have to be honest with you, it's a it's a tough fight to talk about. Not so much a tough fight to predict, but a tough fight to talk about. I'll explain like this. Good evening, Liam. Happy New Year. I hope that you are well and good. So, as you may or may not know, I have met Anthony Yarde and I've met Tunde Jai on a number of occasions. Well, before the lockdown. And then obviously I relocated. But I know Yarde, seen him train, been up close and interviewed him and really like the guy. I like what he stands for as a person. And as a fighter, he's exciting to watch. Yes. And he's come through a lot, obviously. Come through that during the first Lyndon Arthur fight. And then to come back after that and put that wrong right against Lyndon Arthur, that was impressive. That being said, I don't know if Lyndon Arthur wanted to be there on the night. I know there were some issues with Lyndon Arthur, but contractually he spoke out about it. And Lyndon Arthur gives me the impression, where I look at him, is when his heart is not in something and he can't be bothered, he'll put on performances such as that. But Yarde looked devastating, and taking nothing away from that, Anthony Yarde that night, he looked great. He walked down Lyndon Arthur and took him apart, put punches together nicely, and that was good to see. And I was very impressed with that. This fight seems like action replay. Apart from this fight, this time the fight's at home. The last time the fight was away from home. Now, I want people to be quite clear here. I'm not an Anthony Yarde hater. And it's not that I don't want him to do the best that he wants to see him become champion, or I hate success or nothing like that. I don't want to come across as being unbiased, and it's more difficult to be unbiased when you actually like the people that are in the fight. But this isn't a personality contest. This isn't a friendship test. This is about boxing. This is about boxing, and it's a brutal sport. So this is what I'm feeling inside. So this fight is like Russia all over again, because in the lead up to the fight against Kovalev, there were questions I was asking. So, all right, so who had Artur Beterbiev actually fought to prepare him for Kovalev? Like, had he done 12 rounds? Had he been in with a seasoned pro that had good boxing ability, had a good jab, who's going to give him difficulty and give him a real fight? Well, there was a fight around Travis Reeves. You go back and look at that fight again. And even the Travis Reeves fight, we could see the issues that Yarde was having with the jab, the double jab, being pushed every time Reeves would throw the double jab. Yarde would voluntarily, because of his footwork, skip back to rope. You see Yarde, he skips back. Often as well, he crosses his feet. You'll see him, he skips back. That's the way Yarde's footwork is. And he'll come off, he'll spring off his back foot to throw a shot. And when he throws a shot, sometimes he leaves himself open. Even when he springs with the left hook, leaves himself open. In the Reeves fight, now this is at a lower level, Yarde was getting caught with right hands through the middle, over the top, even uppercuts on the inside. And this is against a guy who, like, he had started his career at 32 years old, I believe. And he was like his career outside there is a bit of a sparky. And he lost 2 fights in his first 5. This guy, Travis Reeves. And if you look at that fight in bits, in that fight, you saw Yarde being back to the ropes, being put under pressure. You see Yarde getting hit with shots. For a guy who this defensive, the way he's shoulder rolling and tucking up tight, you'd think he wouldn't be getting hit with certain shots, but he seems to be getting hit with his shots. Then we looked at the Kovalev fight, where again, the jab was there. His double jab was shutting Yarde down early on in the fight. It's only when Yarde in that round 8, when he was being outboxed, it's that round 8 where Yarde decided, and I said in the preview to the Yarde fight, when he fought Kovalev, if they allow Kovalev to get into rhythm and allow jab up against Yarde, Anthony Yarde is going to have problems in this fight, and he's going to have big difficulty trying to win this fight. And I said this. And it was a big concern for me, a massive concern for me. And we saw that. And we saw in the 8th round, that everyone likes to talk about, where Yarde actually stepped to Kovalev, in which I said that Yarde should have stepped to Kovalev from the beginning of the fight and don't allow Kovalev to have that experience to use that jab and utilize all that stuff when he was early in the fight. Step to Kovalev and put it on Kovalev early, where you've got energy, when you've got strength. That's where you can use that experience. Those first 6 rounds, that's where you should jump on Kovalev. Not the back end of the fight where you've never been 12 rounds. To me, that's kind of suicidal. See, when Eubank fought Saunders, he knew he'd never gone 12 rounds in a big fight before. As a matter of fact, I think it's a bit difficult, but I think a fighter needs to be able to go 10 rounds and 12 rounds in a fight before they challenge for a world title. And that might be difficult, but I think that needs to happen. So guys don't have that excuse for when they go in a 12-round bout. Well, I've never been 12 rounds before. Do you know? I think it's important, especially for guys fighting for a world title. That's me. Put that to one side. Anyway, that he hadn't gone 12 rounds. And then he was suddenly told to go for it in the 8th round. He said he felt that way. His team felt they felt that way. And then after the fight, he then turns around and tells everyone, well, you know what? My team are inexperienced. We've kind of never been here before. Okay, so what's changed? You fought Lyndon Arthur. You got beat by Lyndon Arthur. You come back and beat Lyndon Arthur. Okay. Good. I fought a guy's name. The last fight you had, that Yarde had, where in the end he threw an uppercut that lifted the guy off the feet. That's not what I'm looking at here. What I'm concerned about is the punches that Yarde was getting caught with before then, in the first round. Now, we don't talk about who the opponent is facing, right? We're just talking about what's happening, what I'm seeing, not what I'm making up, not what I'm kind of pulling out of thin air. So you're getting hit by a guy who, for all intended purposes, is not at that level. Just park that there a second. You still haven't gone 12 rounds. We'll park that there. Apart from Lyndon Arthur, who isn't a spiteful puncher, you won one against Lyndon Arthur and you lost one against Lyndon Arthur. British level. You haven't done anything else. So this stuff about world class, what determines a world-class fighter? You had one round where you didn't drop Kovalev. You didn't drop him. You hurt him. You didn't drop him. So, question is Anthony Yarde a world-class puncher? That's the question. Callum Johnson, when he fought Beterbiev, Artur Beterbiev, he dropped Beterbiev. We knew Callum Johnson could punch, but Callum Johnson himself, when he got into that fight, was not prepared. Callum Johnson come off from a year after knocking out Frank Buglioni, who hadn't had the greatest of chins. He comes off of that, no sort of preparation, and goes into a fight against the beast, Artur Beterbiev, right? But we knew he could punch. Johnson was a puncher, and he had amateur pedigree as well. My concerns about this fight for Yarde already don't even start with his punching power or his stamina, because I think this fight could end early, the way Yarde's getting caught. His footwork, the way he's springing and springing out, the way he's backing straight up to the ropes voluntarily, the way when he sits in those ropes, he's a sitting duck for a guy like Beterbiev who will mix his shots up. Beterbiev will soften you up. He'll use little jabs and little soft punches, then land his hard shot. This guy who's seen every style, these Russian guys, all these East European guys have seen so much deep amateur pedigree. And then they come into the pro game, they've got so much experience, they've seen so many different styles. Yarde's style is good and effective when you allow him to fight at his pace. When you allow him to fight at his pace, yeah? But when you put pressure on Yarde and you make Yarde fight at a pace he's not used to, my concerns are, what's the gas tank like? See, that round 8, you see that round 8 right there? If Anthony Yarde could fight at that pace for 12 rounds, right there, you would have a world-class fighter, and in my opinion, a genuine world title contender. But for me, the questions are, who is Yarde sparring? And if he's sparring, at what intensity is he sparring at? It's all right throwing punches on bags and doing all that stuff. That's great. I haven't been around Yarde's camp for 2 years. I don't know what impact or input James Cook has had in the camp. I don't even know if he's still in the camp, right? So I don't know what changes have been made since the Kovalev fight, because I've been away that long. So I don't know what changes have been made, but they better have made those changes. They better have been able to work the jab and distance and be able to neutralize Beterbiev's jab. Beterbiev jab. They better be able to neutralize his jab, right? Because the other thing Yarde is open to is the jab right hand. He's open to straight punches down the pipe. You don't want to be getting hit down the pipe by this guy, Artur Beterbiev. Oh, he's slow, he's this, he's that. But remember, when you're saying these things about Beterbiev, look at the quality of opposition he's fighting. Look at Beterbiev's last 3 fights. Look at his last 4 fights, and look at Yarde's last 3 fights. Look at Beterbiev's last 5 fights, and look at Yarde's last 5 fights. Look at the quality of opposition. Look at the caliber of opposition. Look at the fights he's been in. When you have fought your career, and for the most part, you're fighting guys that you hit them, they fall over, or you cover up, and they, for the most part, you're blocking the shots and you tuck it up and you're okay in your house, it's fine. But if you're fighting guys on the regular, guys who are testing your kingdom, that are testing, your defense, testing when you roll, testing when you shoulder roll, you slip punches, you know what works and what doesn't work. If you do it constantly, if that style has been tested constantly against good opposition, and that's been the thing. Yarde's career has been talked about. Well, only had a limited amateur career. So then, what's the rush for a world title fight? What's the rush for a second world title fight? Surely you should learn your craft, or is it that you don't think he's that good enough? Because, okay, say he does beat Artur Beterbiev. Or Beterbiev. So he does beat him. Is Yarde going to go and fight Canelo? Or is he going to beat Bivol? It's not happening. It's just not happening. So for me, there are some concerns right there about Yarde. Stamina, judging distance. When your back is against the ropes, what do you do? Because I can see scenarios where Yarde backs up to them ropes. If Yarde's back is against the ropes in this fight, that is where the fight will end, with Yarde's back against the ropes. If he's going to win this fight, he's got to win it in the center of the ring. Beterbiev can win this fight in the center of the ring. He can win with his back against the ropes, and he can win this fight with Yarde's back against the ropes. Why? Because he's been backed up by better fighters. And I'm not sure whether Yarde is a world-class puncher. Devastating. I think he might be a guy that hits you a shot like Kell Brook. Yarde and Kell Brook are very similar in the way they hit you a shot. They go boom, they hit you a shot, and then they go boom, and then boom, and then boom. You watch the way Brook puts his punch together and the way Yarde puts his punch together, and they have that same sort of, I'm not going to call it robotic, but it seems almost choreographed. You take this shot, then you'll take this shot, then you'll take that shot, then you'll take this shot. And I don't know if it's a muscle-bound thing or what. So there are questions, lots of questions. And I'm very, very, very concerned about Yarde's game plan for this fight. Me personally, if I'm Yarde, I'm looking to counter Artur Beterbiev. I'm looking to counter him. Don't go if you jump on him, or you take the chance. You take the chance. You go fully in and you go for it. You go for him. You try and catch him by surprise, because I think there is not a smugness, but there's a confidence. Very confident. His footwork, Yarde's footwork is I'm not going to call it a mess, but it's a problem. It's a problem against these Eastern European fighters with lots of experience. It's a problem because the jab will put you into positions. So for Beterbiev, if he was going to double the jab, and if he doubles the jab, Yarde would naturally go to the ropes. Yarde also, when you double and put the right hand through, Yarde is there to be hit. He's also Yarde there to beat with the overhand right. Leaves his chin in the air for those shots. Doesn't take his head off the line. Back straight up, back straight up. And Yarde doesn't have a second, he doesn't have a second game plan. It's all or nothing. It's that game plan there and nothing else. That strategy, that's that technique there and nothing else. So it is, I'm not going to use the word one-dimensional, but it's just different gears of the same dimension. Do you get it? So gear one is look and have a look. And then gear two might be, I'm going to come forward a bit more, throw a few more punches. Those are the two gears. And then if I really let my hands go in one round, I might not be able to throw, my body may not be able to recover. The other question is recovery of Anthony Yarde. It's all right throwing those bursts of punches when nobody's hitting you back. Nobody significantly is hitting you back. Every punch by Artur Beterbiev is a knockout punch. Every punch. So you've got to mentally take that in when you're fighting. So when you're sparring, it's one thing. But somebody like Kovalev is the kind of man that would have Yarde sparring with. If it was me, Yarde would be sparring with Kovalev. Regular. And the only way Yarde is going to improve is not staying in the Peacock Gym or staying in East London. He's got to get Eastern Europeans in there sparring with him. He's got to. Because that's the only way he's going to improve. And he's got to fight at that pace. Yarde says he doesn't like getting hit. Well, my friend, you're in the wrong sport. Because if you're going to continue to use that shoulder roll, which clearly is not working because you're getting hit, even though you're using it, you know, you're going to have to catch Beterbiev with something pretty special, because Callum Johnson can do it. You guys, Joe Smith can do it. So you're going to have to catch him with something very special. Other than that, and if you're not a world-class puncher and you're just a thudding puncher, there's problems. Because how many times are you going to be able to land those shots on Artur Beterbiev without getting hit with a jab, and with a jab itself that could knock you out as well? I am going to go with what I know in this fight. I'm going to go with good boxing fundamentals. I'm going to go with a guy who's got a good jab, a ramrod jab, a hard puncher, and has had experience at top level. That's the thing for me. I don't want to hear Yarde telling me about, oh yeah, you know, I'm hungry for this fight and I'm motivated. That's nice. You can be hungry, you can motivate, you can talk a great fight. But what are you doing differently? Who are you bringing to the sparring camp? And what are these sparring sessions like? It's all behind closed doors. Nobody knows who Yarde spars. Up to now, I still don't know who Anthony Yarde is sparring. I mean, they may keep that secret, but ultimately, if you're not getting the hard sparring, and you need to have hard sparring, because if you're not having hard sparring and your hard is, they say, oh well, you know, the best of your fight is in the ring. That's good. That's why you need a quality trainer that can gauge how much is in the gym and how much is in the ring. You know, because a quality trainer can take you so far and in so far deep and say, right, that's enough, out. Not to the point where you're having wars every week, but to the point where you are having significant tests and significant hardening of the mind and the body to prepare you to fight for war. It's all right talking about war and preparing your mind for war. If you're not getting war in that gym or war simulation, you don't just go in the ring and fight in a war, because that's not happening. You get war simulation. You need to have war simulation, or else it's Russia all over again, but faster. You know, the one thing that come to my mind is that if Beterbiev gets himself in any spot of bother, they can stop that fight quick because it's in London. If he doesn't, like, you look at Kovalev when he fought Yarde in that 8th round, I guarantee you, if that fight was in England, it would have been stopped in that round. Kovalev would have been stopped in that round. It would have got stopped in that round if it was in England. I kid you not, if that was in England. So now, Beterbiev better make sure he don't look anything like Kovalev in that 8th round. My concerns are Yarde gets hit too often. He's flat-footed, and that's my problem. And I don't think that style is going to change that much for this fight. There's nothing to suggest that. And is that style good enough to beat the top fundamentally sound fighters in the world? For me, I was always taught that your foundation of your footwork has to be right, has to be solid. Because it doesn't matter how good your hands are. If your feet are all over the place and you're a mess. It's the same thing with boxing as with cricket. You need to have good footwork to be able to get in and to get out. To get in and get out. With your batting, you need to be able to get back. If the ball is short, it's coming for your head, get out of the way. You need to get forward, get onto front foot and drive. You need to be able to quickly sway from front foot to back foot to pull a ball. Same with boxing. You're boxing, you've got to be able to get in and get out, slip to the sides. Do you understand? And with Yarde, you go and look at Yarde's footwork. Look at Yarde's footwork carefully. Look, I'm not ripping Yarde to shreds there, but when you tell me he is a world-class fighter, and you tell me that not only is a world-class fighter, you sit down and you tell me that Anthony Yarde is he's special. Well, what defines him as special? What defines Yarde as special? Yeah, he had 12 amateur bouts, yeah, and then you rush him into a pro fight. If he's that special, why are you rushing him into a world title fight? If he's that special, why are you not taking the time to rebuild him? Why are you rushing him into a world title fight? Have you not learned from Russia? Okay, the first time, right, you weren't experienced. But the second time, what's the excuse now? So I mean, if he does it, great. I'm happy for him. I'm great. I'm happy for Forest Gate. I'm happy for East London. I'm happy as a Londoner. I'm happy to know a man's done well and yet another champion that's come through this channel. I'm happy. But I'm just trying to be a realist here. And that being a realist means, bro, you're getting hit too much, too often. Hold on 1 second, please. I've got people knocking at my door and I don't like it. Hold on. I have to come back. Neighbor. Right. So getting hit you get hit too hard, or you get hit too often at the lower leagues. So if your defense is a mess in the lower leagues, it's like in football. If you're shipping 7 and 8 goals against, your Sunday league team, then you're gonna go and go play against Real Madrid and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm training hard and I'm believing in myself and I'm gonna get it right." That's all right. You can believe all you want. You can talk all the good game you want, and you can say your team is special. But when you come on the field now of play and you meet legitimately, elite athletes, you might score the odd one goal. You may score 1 goal, but the bucket amount of goals you're going to concede because defense is not up to scratch, on par, and it's not expected to be. And that's my point. You're expecting a man to defy odds, logic, and punching power. And you're not going in against Reeves or Arthur or Kovalev. You're not even going against Kovalev at the time. And then, have you improved from the first Kovalev fight? If you were going to fight Kovalev again? I don't know. There's too many questions to be answered. I hope Yarde gets out the fight safe and well. But to me, I don't like where it's heading. So let me just quickly read people's comments in the comment section. Let's go now. Good evening, Liam. Dangerous fight. There were those who questioned Arthur's ability to box off the front and back foot, but he showed versus Joe Smith, who's arguably as hard a puncher as Yarde. I said for the Joe Smith fight, if Joe Smith goes for the front door against Beterbiev, he is going to get brutally exposed. If you go for the front door, and if Yarde decides to go for the front door, fight ends in round 1. I'm telling you already, Yarde could get stopped in rounds 1 to 3 because he's liable. He starts slow and he's liable to get cracked early in those 1 to 3 rounds. Can he take the power of Artur Beterbiev, who's a mean son of a you-know-what? Artur's boxing ability combined with punch, especially left hand, is dangerous. Good evening, my brother. I hope that you're well, ready for this great fight. I am. I like to see the winner fight. I wouldn't. I would not at all. Or Bivol. Do you think this version of Beterbiev would have stopped the Kovalev Yarde for? Yeah. Because if he hits him, if he hits Kovalev, he's going over. I had thought that Yarde should have slimmed down to be more agile, but maybe coming in bigger might give him more punches. The problem is Beterbiev has better footwork. Footwork's the key. It don't matter how big you are. Footwork is key. Footwork gets you in trouble, gets you in and out of range. If you've got no footwork, you cannot control distance. That means you get controlled. You would be like a dog on a lead. And Beterbiev's jab can keep Yarde on a lead. That's like, it'll just keep him on a lead. Jab. Look at the Reeves fight. Look at the first Arthur fight. Look at the Kovalev fight. Jab. And the problem he's got the jab is because of the footwork. The footwork, the minute he gets it with a double jab, his back foot skips back to the ropes. That's his natural inclination. Just go back 2 steps and get a shoulder roll off. I can't even get the shoulder roll off. Get the shoulder roll off. So double jab. This is double jab. Yarde doesn't parry it or catch it. He doesn't catch it and slip inside. He just steps back. So if he naturally steps back, the right hand is coming. And he does the same thing. He does the same pattern. So he moves back in straight lines predictably. So all Beterbiev needs to use timing when he's stepping back. So I see you. And then guys won't do it straight away. They'll feint and see him drop back. They'll feint and let him drop back. So right, let me touch you. Just touch you. Just see you there. There, you're in range. Yeah, you're in range. Yeah, you're in range. Can I touch you? Yeah, I can touch you. I can reach you. That's it. I can reach you. Not landing anything hard. Yeah, just you. Bang, crack it with a shot. Daze you, and then I start coming in for you. So it's that. It's one of them ones. And that jab is an experienced jab. People who don't give a careful look at Beterbiev can easily think their style is just stiff, Eastern European, but that's not the case. He's a hybrid of a few styles. Would you have had Yarde tapered down for this fight, or have him as large as a farmass as he is, Ingram? He struggles to make light heavyweight. He's struggling to make light heavyweight. So natural cruiserweight, small bridgerweight maybe. Yarde in the Kovalev fight should have dived on him and made him feel his age. Lots of roughhouse fight, in-house full housing at him. It must be in-house fighting and bodywork, but he got insufficient corner advice. I said that. I could have done that. I told him. I said, we need to take the fight to Kovalev. If you decide to box Kovalev, forget it. Because you're matching inexperience with experience. Hey, Marilu. Hope that you're well. Much love to the Philippines. Happy New Year to you too as well. Michael Buffer says, Yarde doesn't even fight B level. All his fights are C level. How jump from C to A level fights is a bit better be. Good question. But even in the Artur fight, before the KO, Artur was still out working, and that's the concern. Yarde sometimes switches off in fights, and that's dangerous at this level. Well, why they switch off is because in sparring or in training, they're allowed to do that. Felt like Yarde didn't learn from the Kovalev loss. Was very much the same fighter versus Lyndon Arthur loss. At least he's shown some improvement since. But how do you know there are improvements? It's the same argument about Canelo. Yeah, Canelo's improved. Yes, Canelo's improved. Yeah, he's got better. You know, if he fought Mayweather, he'd beat him this time. Yeah, but who's he fought to show that he's, you know, who's he fought that's got speed and movement and boxing IQ like Mayweather say he's improved? It's not like he's beaten Mayweather since. No. So when he fought somebody who had ring IQ, could box, what happened? He got outboxed. He's improved. I'd say Yarde is 2-tier British level, but world level, I do not put him above the 3rd tier. Oh, wow. Beterbiev's feet look slow, but he's always punching distance. Yeah? His feet look slow. Okay. Well, let me tell you something. People who've got feet, slow feet. Thought Joe Louis had slow feet. George Foreman had slow feet. George Royce got slow feet. They're not bad punches, are they? Yarde, gas tank, a big worry against Beterbiev. I agree. Yeah. It might not go that long to have gas tank this time. This ain't old Kovalev. It's not Ovalev we're fighting this time. It's not Ovalev we're fighting this time, man. But I may remind you, Kovalev had already been knocked out in a previous fight. Let me remind you that as well before he fought to win his titles. Too much bulk muscle, lactic acid in later rounds. That's what we see in the Kovalev fight. What you saw in the Kovalev fight is not so much the lactic acid. What you saw is Yarde shoot his load and then being unable to recover. And if you're not shooting your load in sparring, if you're not shooting your load in training, that's what the sparring, it comes back to the hard sparring. when you shoot your load in a hard sparring session, right, and you get a hard sparring session, you're being pushed, then you learn how to manage, how to take a, how to take a breather, how to tie up. You then start picking your shots. You start learning how to use your jab to negotiate distance. So you start finding clever ways or smarter ways to lower the pace, double up the jab, staying inside more, tying up more, walking a fighter back to the ropes, all those sort of things to catch a second wind. But if you don't do that in sparring, and if you're not in fights to test you to do that, how the hell are you going to go into the big leagues doing that stuff? Nah, it's not the time to find out. And it's certainly not the time to fight against this monster. Yarde might be a beast. He might be the beast from this. Well, this is the monster. Yeah, Yarde is in the same boat as AJ. Could have been great if you had the right people around him and better trainers. Sad. Well, interesting. Bruv, we stop the shoulder rolling. Ingram on the first day as chief second in Yarde's camp. Mate, if I had Yarde, me, I'd say, pack your bag, son. Pack your bag, son. We're going to Ukraine, or we're going to Russia, or that's, in my mind and in my world, he'd be going out there and learning how to learn this style. Or first man would be going to see Derek James. He'll be going to see Derek James if it were me, if you gave me charge of it. But, no disrespect to Tunde, but I think he's done a good job with Yarde. Denise Wards. Good evening, my sister. Hope that you're well. Denise Wards has been following my channel, has been a supporter for many years out there. So shout out to you, Denise, all the way in America. What's 7:30, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2 p.m., 2:30 p.m. American time. Dangerous fight for Yarde. Yarde's poor footwork is going to be exposed in this fight. Well, evening BWTM, evening Shane. Yarde need a trip to Mecca or Jerusalem. God help him. You're wrong. You're wrong. It's funny though. You're wrong. Kovalev versus Billy Joe Saunders and Planet showed you his weakness. Yeah, he did. He did. Mayweather boxing at Yarde shoulder roll. Bruv, this is copyright infringement, LOL. So I don't know. I hope that I hope to God I'm talking a whole heap of rubbish like I was for the Kovalev fight. Go back and watch the Kovalev fight, a Kovalev preview, and see how that preview sort of mirrors this preview. Yeah. They're still talking that good stuff. He's still talking that good stuff. And I agree. But can't beat fundamentals. We'll see. I hope they prove me completely wrong. They defy logic. They defy science. They defy biomechanics. They defy sports science. Because footwork, it's like one guy fighting with just the top half of his body, and you got another guy fighting with his arms, his legs, and his arms. He's got the whole body. You got the other guy fighting with just top half of his body. And I know, as a British boxing fan, it's hard to see talent not being utilised in the best way. I know it's hard, Ingram. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Soon enough, we will know whether Yarde is the business or is going to get the business done to him yet again. We'll soon find out. This has been BWTM Sports Gaming. I hope you've enjoyed the preview. Please do smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video, leave your comments. If you're on Facebook, of course, share the video as well. Invite people to like the channel and the page. But other than that, hey, thanks. It's been a pleasure again. Take care.